My name's Anatol Steck. I'm 16 years old. My mother was on vacation when she was in her early 20s, I'd like to say, and in Switzerland. And her mother's family friend, very close friend of her mother's, was always calling her every day saying, "Oh, come on, come to West Virginia. Come on, please, how are you? Blah, blah, blah." Basically always wanted her to come visit her in the States. And my mom's never been to the United States, and so one day my mom just got annoyed of her calling and asking her to come back, so she said, "Okay, I'm just gonna go to the United States Embassy in Switzerland and see about a visa." She passed through immigration and they said, "Where are you going?" She said, "West Virginia," and they were like, "West Virginia? Do you even know where that is?" And then so they pulled out a map and they were like, "This is West Virginia right here." And then she was like, "Yeah, but I've never been, so I'm not sure what to expect." And then they said, "Well, just do us a favor and don't stay too long." And what they were going to do was they were going to take a United States tour. They even had their tickets to Florida. They were going to go to DC first and then go to Florida. But her Tita Nene broke her ankle, so they couldn't go yet. And so she was getting so bored in West Virginia. She was like, "Tita Nene, I need to go. I'm going to just leave." And she said, okay, we'll go to DC tomorrow, okay. And so they went to DC, and then my mom said in the first hour, she just fell in love. And so she stayed. And she told her, I said, "I'm not leaving, I'm staying in DC.
So my dad's great-grandmother, lived in Greece. And then when the Turks came, she was exiled, and she lived in a cave and saw her brother die, and it was pretty messed up. And then she returned to Greece, and her family, along with her, I think, filed her as a student so she could come to America and study as an American student or as an exchange student. And just in the streets of, I think, New York, she met one of her cousins from Greece. And from there, she found a home in America, and it's phenomenal how coincidental it was, because had that not happened, she would have gone back to Greece, and I wouldn't be here.
So my great-great-grandfather was the first person in our family to come to America. He worked on the railroads in California, but then he went back to China, where he had my great-grandfather. And then when my great-grandfather was 15, they came back to America. And even though he didn't speak any English and he had like this long braid down his back, the consensus, I think, in our family is that at the Canadian border, they bribed a judge to establish that he was born in the United States, which was really huge for my family because that set the precedent so like everybody else could come. 私の名前は杉原玲奈です。踊りが大好きで、yeah, okay. I don't know. My dad was actually in Japan because he was teaching English, and I think he said that like one night after work or something, him and a bunch of his American colleagues went to like a club or like a restaurant or something wherever it was, my mom was a waiter. They ended up like dating, and neither of them actually spoke English or Japanese. Like they never spoke the same language for like the first 3 months. He had to improve his Japanese, my mom had to improve her English. And so they decided that one day would be like the English day and then the other day would be the Japanese day. They like started switching the days, so like Monday would be like English, Tuesday would be Japanese, and so on.
There's a whole lot of stories in my family about the days before they moved to America. See, they all lived in a mansion apparently, like in the hills of Tehran, which is the capital. My grandfather told his children all the time that their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, however many greats there are until you reach like the 1700s, was like a supreme judge or something, and that's where my Persian side of the family got the last name Moyadi.
My name is Krisha Paz, and I'm 16 years old. So my mother, her name's Teresita Paz. Her side of the family comes from the northern Philippines, around Baguio City. And my father, his name is Cornelio Paz III. He comes from central Philippines, like Manila, the capital of Philippines. And They all kind of, well, most of them migrated to America. They're kind of scattered around the country. A lot of my family is in like the DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
My name in English is Li, and my Chinese name is Lei Hui Lim. And that's what my parents don't really usually call me by my Chinese name. They usually call me by my English name. It means forest. My Li is just a family name, and Hui Lim means forest, big forest. In like the early 1900s, when one of my ancestors, they migrated here in DC from China. Though I am sixth generation, I believe, Chinese immigrant, I am the first born in America.
Hi, my name is Jordan. My grandmother on my mother's side, she was born in Hong Kong, China, and she moved to Guangzhou province. And by the age of 4, she moved to California in San Francisco. She had about 7 uncles, I believe, and some of them stayed in China, some of them went with her. So there was a lot of going back and forth between China and America, getting them here. When she was pretty young, she met her husband, which was, his name is John Morris, African-American bus driver.
Hi, my name is Son Lee. I'm from Hanoi, Vietnam. I'm not American. I'll just talk about my first year here in the United States. So, my dad, since my dad's a diplomat, he's been given 3 years to work in Washington, D.C. And honestly, at first, I really didn't want to move because I had friends and families there that I really cherish. And also I thought that I was going to New York or like Los Angeles or something, not like the very busy and fun cities like New York, yeah, those cities, but not like some place like Washington D.C. My first year was I had some ups and downs, and I didn't act very American, so I had to go through a process of learning it. And during the process, I just, people poked at me. Some of my friends poked at me for being Asian. And, first I was kind of offended because I didn't know that didn't know that Americans were that aggressive. But over time, I just learned to cope with them, so I just learned to tolerate them. And even though I don't talk to them now, I still think that that was a really interesting experience because I got to interact with a whole new culture. I got to tolerate it, and now I somewhat like it.
My name is Yu Shi Chen. Yu is like astronomical, like big, huge. And then Shi is like hope, and then Chen is my family name. So I guess it would mean astronomical hope, big hope, because my parents put a lot of hope into me. I think my parents came here around 20 years ago. My mom worked for a government job in China, and my dad worked as like a car repairman.
He had one suit that was made in India and another suit which he bought here, and he wore the same 2 suits every single day. And so they didn't pay for the metro. He'd get up incredibly early and he'd walk to work. My great-grandmother, she imparted the same kind of wisdom and lifestyle that my grandparents on my mother's side did. You work very hard, save all the money you can, just don't be wasteful. And I think that was the main thing, don't be wasteful. So you can't get up until you finish your food, everything like that.
In the Philippines, I guess they were just very set on like strict rules and things like that, and just like you have to be a nurse or you have to be a lawyer in order to be successful. You can't be anything else. And like the only way you can, I guess, succeed is just be those occupations, and like you have to go to America to succeed. The way I was brought up, well, it's kind of the same, because I don't know, that's what they were based on. Like they were passionate about some things, and like they weren't able to pursue them because of like what they were told.
So then as things started to get worse over time, as you got closer to the 70s, more of my family moved to America. until basically there was like this, we apparently have this entire like lost branch of the family in Iran.
I actually just came back from San Francisco to celebrate my grandmother's 80th birthday. And it was pretty special because I got to meet all my Chinese family. I saw a lot of people I'd never seen before. We were all together eating Chinese food, having a good time. It was really fun, like meeting new people that I'm related to and just learning about them and how they're related to my grandmother and their stories.
My third trip to China was like the first one I actually remembered. I was in 6th grade. Like I got to visit a lot of the family members on my dad's side. I felt, I could say, warm, welcome. I had a fun time. People like asked me questions about America. I just thought like all these experiences that I got from my first trip I remembered, wow, like it's my culture right there. Like I can't believe I'm missing out on that. I want to visit China again.
My name is Emily Fullerton. So my mom was adopted from Korea. Her Korean name was Youngbuk Kim, and she was adopted when she was 6 months old. So my grandparents brought her over from Korea to Washington State. I guess her way of connecting to her Asian culture was doing karate, even though it wasn't a Korean practice, it was Japanese, but it was like her parents' way of getting her connected to where she was from. And so that was kind of her thing throughout her life. She started when she was 7, and she stopped when she was 21. And when she was 17, she went to the international competition in Canada, and she ended up winning. And so after she won the international championship for karate, she ended up being like a judge at a lot of like karate competitions and stuff for younger people.
My name is Katie Barrazo. I'm 16 years old. I was adopted when I was 6 months old from China, and that has impacted my life in a lot of ways. The core fundamentals of family for me are different from some other families and people because my parents and I don't look alike. So sometimes that can be confusing to people when they see us all out as a family. And sometimes I try to come up with like alternate explanations for why our family looks the way it does. Like maybe I am biracial and like my dad remarried or my mom remarried somebody. That's what I used to do when I was younger.